Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and I got Big Jeff with me here once again. Intriguing little exercise here that I have for us to do. I went through and named the top 5 players on every single Big Ten team. These are not like NFL draft picks. These are top 5 players for this season. Which players do I think are going to be the best on their team this season? I've named my top 5 for every team. We'll go through all of them, and Jeff will name them from 1 to 5 who he thinks is the best down to 5. It's going to be a fun episode. Got a lot to get to here. Please do like, subscribe here on YouTube. If you're on podcast, give us a 5-star rating. Catch us on Monday through Friday at every single day on podcast, and then on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights at 9 p.m. for the YouTube shows as well. We appreciate you being here. Jeff, thanks for being here. You excited to rank these players?
Yeah, man, a lot. It's just when you realize, oh my God, 18 teams, to go through, and you're like, can we go back to 14? Although, no, actually, we love the 4 Pac-12 teams because it's going to help us take over the SEC as the top conference in the land if we're not already there, right?
Yeah, there we go. We get to talk about it all. Gonna be fun stuff. All right, Jeff, let's get straight into this. This could be a long exercise, so I want to make sure we do it right. Oh, those are the last ones. All right. So I've named the top 5 players on each Big Ten team. They are in alphabetical order here on the graphics. So these are not the orders that Jeff is going to have. But Jeff, let's start with Illinois here. Let's just go alphabetical order today. All right. Let's start with Illinois here. I have named the top 5 players being Gabe Yakis, outside linebacker, J.C. Davis, left tackle, Josh Kreutz, the center for Illinois. I think he gets a little underrated sometimes. And then obviously Luke Altmaier, and starting safety or cornerback / safety type of guy, Xavier Scott. What do you think about those top 5, Jeff? And how would you rank them 1 to 5?
So to help with this exercise, Lindy's is a magazine I got, and one section of Lindy's ranked like the top NFL prospects. So I'm using that to kind of influence things. And so to be clear, we're saying this is not the guys we would draft or whatever to have for 2 or 3, 4 years if they have more than 1 year of eligibility. It's like, who do we want this year? Who's the biggest impact and best player this year? So that's kind of to clarify what we mean by best. And when it comes to Illinois, Gabe Yakis, he's really projected well through Lindy's, and Lindy's uses this company called allaccessfootball.com. So these are people that are watching a lot of game films, and I'm telling you, everyone knows that listens to my podcast, cranking out data, looking at analysis through data. And so that's not film study, right? So I had to cheat here a little bit to be able to articulate very well why I think some of these, but using Lindy's and basically that allaccessfootball.com, Gabe Yakis clearly number 1, I think, actually a projected first rounder. I mean, unless he actually has a weak season, projected first rounder. And some of the stats from last year are impressive. Michigan, 13 tackles against Michigan, 2.5 sacks. And then in the big bowl win against South Carolina, 3 tackles for loss. So, I put him as number 1. In all these, JR, I'm going to give like the number 1 guy like a bunch of focus. Then I'll just say the last 4 without much ado. I have J.C. Davis as number 2, the tackle. Cornerback Xavier Scott is number 3. Center Josh Kreutz. And then finally, Luke Altmaier is 5th. From a perspective of who's most important for Illinois, of all the 5, I put Altmaier, but that's not what this list is about. So those are the 5 I had, JR.
Yeah, I like that. I think Luke Altmaier, it's hard to name him as like one of the top 3 guys because he is such a gamer, but he doesn't necessarily have that like elite trait as a quarterback that is going to elevate him to be one of the best, on the team or something like that. But he is such a gamer, so he has to get that recognition of a top 5 type of guy, I feel like. But I like the way you did that. I totally agree with Gabe Yakis at number 1 for sure. Hey, look at this. We got our USC guys here with us. What's going on, guys? Trojan Fight and Fight On. Natty's here with us. What's good, everyone? What's up, USC Guys, appreciate you being here. All right, let's head to Indiana next here, Jeff. All right, we got Indiana, Aiden Fisher, linebacker, and then Carter Smith, left tackle. I'm really high on Carter Smith. I was looking at some rankings by other people, and they don't have Carter Smith as high as I do. But I think this if this offensive line is going to be really good this year, it's going to be very helpful to have Carter Smith anchoring things down over there at left tackle. D'Angelo Pons, obviously a fantastic corner. He's not going to get drafted nearly high enough for the type of player that he is because he just doesn't have the physical traits, I think, that most first-round cornerbacks have or second-round quarterbacks have. But he could really play himself up there with just his play in general this season. And Elijah Surratt, fantastic wide receiver, if not the number 2, probably number 3, maybe number 4 best wide receiver in the Big Ten. He's somewhere in that range, but he's just a fantastic wide receiver and one of the best in the nation. And then Mikel Kamara, can't say enough great things about him, playing at the stud position this year for Indiana. I like that thought there by Brian Haynes, and I'm excited to see how they deploy him this season. Your thoughts on the top 5, Jeff?
Man, a lot of great choices for Indiana. These are all returning starters that played a huge role last year. So, and at first I wanted to go with Carter Smith because of the importance of the offensive line and, Indiana struggling versus the best teams like Notre Dame and Ohio State that had great fronts, and even Michigan. But then I'm like, wait a minute, he's not the best player. So, I went with Mikel Kamara. So still the defensive line, but he's really highly rated by Lindy's in All Access Football. In fact, all first 4 of these were all rated 1 through 4 by them. And that's what I'm going with. Mikel Kamara 1, 2 is D'Angelo Pons. And for the NFL, I am concerned about his size. So I agree with you, JR, but he's a great player. Elijah Surratt, number 3, no concern about his size, 6'2", 209. Carter Smith, 4, definitely an NFL type player. And then the 5th one, Aiden Fisher. Still really important guy, though, strong leader. Aiden Fisher might be the strongest leader of all those 5, so he might be, in some ways, is more important. But just from a pure talent perspective, I think he falls behind the other 4.
Yeah, I like that. Good stuff there. I really like Aiden Fisher. He doesn't necessarily have maybe the athletic traits that some might want in a linebacker type of guy, but he just reads the defense. He reads the offense so well, and he's such a good defender, and he knows his defense so well. Great leader to have out there, and I love that about him. All right, let's move on. Oh, PK says Pons is second round pick. Yes, I've seen those projections as well. Looking at the draft, I just don't know if he goes that high with how much emphasis they put on traits and everything else and physical size. I would love it if he is drafted that high. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if he'll actually go that high. What is he, 5'9"? A little bit on the smaller side. We'll have to see. So, but PK, I hope you're right. I hope he does go second round because he deserves that recognition.
Yeah, but he's a great college player no matter what. So that's for sure.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. All right, let's move on to Iowa here. Jeff, we have Aaron Graves, defensive lineman. You're gonna find a pattern here of linemen. Aaron Graves, defensive lineman. Ethan Herkett, defensive lineman. Jennings Dunker, offensive lineman. Logan Jones, center but offensive lineman. And then he didn't perform as well last year as I think he could have, but 2 years ago he was much better. So maybe he just had an off year last year. We'll see if he can bounce back this year, but I'm going to keep Xavier Nwankpa in there. I know some Iowa fans would argue Mark Gronowski, just like I know some Indiana fans might argue Fernando Mendoza. I think Fernando Mendoza hasn't proved himself yet to be in the top 5 of Indiana, so I felt pretty good about that. And I still do want to see Mark Gronowski prove himself before I see him in the top 5 for Iowa. Till then, trenches, line of scrimmage dominant here for Iowa, and then the 5-star safety and Xavier Nwankpa for me.
Yeah, so for me, Logan Jones, number 1, the center, and he was rated 1 by the All Access Football as well. He's in his 6th season, listed as a potential first-round pick. And when you're the center, you're the quarterback of the line. So I'm putting some importance on that. And, of course, protecting that new quarterback is going to be so huge. So number 2 for me was Nwankpa. Number 3, offensive tackle, Jennings Dunker. And all 3 of those were listed and it is among the top 5 for NFL prospects. And then Ron, if you've ever seen the thing on Twitter, if you haven't seen that, need to look at it. Ron Graves, number 4, and then defensive end Ethan Herket I had as number 5 for me.
Yeah, I like this defensive line for Iowa, and I like this offensive line too. If they're going to get to the playoffs or anything this season, it's going to be on the back of their trenches. Not to say the other players aren't good, but just that's how good the trenches are for Iowa here. So, all right, next we have Maryland. Listen, I don't like to put special teamers in the top 5, but Maryland does have themselves a very good punter, and Bryce McPherson that I think deserves the credit to be up there. So I have Bryce McPherson, tight end Dorian Fleming. He's very good. Jaleel Farouk, wide receiver. I've given Octavian Smith a lot of credit there at Maryland. I think he is going to be more of a leader on this team, but I still think Jaleel Farouk is probably the best wide receiver on this team, and so he's in the top 5. And then I had to put my Big Ten draft guy and Jalen Husky up there, the safety. Really like him. And then I went out on a limb here a little bit. Larry one time told me about Nolan Ray. I know I was a little down on the Maryland running backs. After we did that episode, Larry told me, look up Nolan Ray. So I watched Nolan Ray a little bit more closely, took some time to go through, and I really, really like this kid. I really like his game. This might be a little bit of a hot take to have him in the top 5 here, but I think he's going to be really special for Maryland this season. So I have Nolan Ray, the running back.
Yeah, so for me, the wide receiver, Farouk, for sure, listed by Lindy's. 4 years at Oklahoma, broke foot in the season opener last year versus Temple, and then was out 3 months and then played, I think, late in the season. So they really missed him. And at Oklahoma, they used him at running back at times and a kick returner. So I think just good versatility for the NFL, but that also means good versatility to Maryland. That's why I'm listing him first. And then number 2, JR, I had Jalen Husky, the safety. Number 3, the tight end Dorian Fleming. All 3 of those were listed in the top 5 NFL prospects by Lindy's for Maryland. And then I'll go with running back Nolan Ray, and then the punter. I can't put a punter, high unless it's an Iowa punter. I just can't do it. Do it. But I'm sure he's no doubt excellent, but I list him number 5 for Bryce McPherson.
I get that. Reese Dinkin, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, at Iowa, he was listed to the top 100 players on a website. All those websites put out their top 100 players in college football. He was the only Iowa player listed. So I was like, man, I feel like I'm really doing him disservice if I don't have him here in the top 5 for Iowa. It was either him or Xavier Nwankpa, and I went with Nwankpa over Reese Dinkins. So. Sorry, Iowa punter. If Iowa fans come after me, I fully accept that one. All right, let's move on to Michigan here. Jeff, listen, there should be no shade for Dominic Zavada being on this Michigan list. He is fantastic. And just so everybody knows, this is alphabetical order, but I did get Dominic Zavada and Derek Moore wrong there, so apologies. I'll switch that when I post this graphic. But Dominic Zavada, Derek Moore at the edge position, really like him and what he's going to bring. Jayshon Barham, linebacker. Rayshawn Benny, defensive lineman. That's a little bit of projection because he wasn't starting last year, but just based off how he played last year, I think he's going to be really, really good, and I like what I saw from him. And then Rod Moore was not able to play last year, had the injury. He's back this year. Again, another one of the best safeties in the nation. I'm telling you, the Big Ten has the best safeties in college football this season, and it's not even close. The number of safeties who play for Big Ten teams that are just fantastic, it's a huge number, and it's a big hat tip to the Big Ten this season. All right, Jeff, how would you rank these 5 for Michigan?
Michigan's just loaded on defense again. It's really hard to pick among these defensive guys. I went with the edge, Derek Moore, first, just because he's an edge, right? He's coming. That's going to be important, putting pressure on the quarterback. But right there with them, number 2, the defensive tackle, Rashawn Benny. Linebacker, Jayshon Barnum is number 3. And then I list the kicker 4th, Zavada. I mean, he was the difference in beating Ohio State's kicker missed 2 30-something yard simple field goals, and Michigan's kicker didn't. That's really one of the main differences in the game. And then Rod Moore as number 5. Interestingly, Lindy's listed the top NFL player was new starting quarterback, sophomore cornerback J.R. Hill. They love his adaptability. Do use in multiple schemes. So just defense. You know it's going to be excellent for Michigan once again.
Yeah, Hill was getting a lot of credit in a lot of different places. I'm not necessarily down on Hill. It was either Hill or Moore,
He's young.
and and it's no shade on Hill. I just remember how good Rod Moore was 2 years ago for that national championship team, and I had to put him up there. So it very well could be Hill that is in that top 5, maybe over Zavada or somebody like that by season's end, but. I had to give the nod to some of the more experienced guys, in my opinion. So, all right, let's move on to Michigan State. Jeff, we have here the passing game should be really good for Michigan State this season if my top 5 is correct, because I have Aiden Childs, quarterback, Christian McCray, wide receiver, Jack Velling, tight end, Nick Marsh, wide receiver, and then Nakai Martinez, safety. I was singing Nakai Martinez's praise a little bit when we were doing our secondary rankings, and I think he deserves it. Nick Marsh, Christian McCray, definitely 2 amazing wide receivers that Michigan State has there. Listen, this Michigan State team is going to have to be really good through the air this season. It's not exactly Jonathan Smith's MO, but it is something that they're going to have to rely on and do a really good job with. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I have tight end Jack Velling listed number 1. He actually threw Lindy's maybe a mid-round grade, but 36 catches for 411 yards and a little safety valve for Aiden Childs. Definitely Nick Marsh number 2, and you could argue maybe he's more talented, but he's still pretty young, but super talented. The safety Martin at number 3. He was their leading tackler last year, so obviously going to be really important. I mean, if anything, I'm more worried about Michigan State's defense than anything for sure. Childs, I have 4th, but growing. Should take another leap this year, and then Christian McCray as the wide receiver is 5th for me.
Yeah. There's a lot of people giving a lot of credit to Christian McCray out there, and he could be really good this season. But I still am rather fond of Nick Marsh and what he's going to bring to this team. So, all right, let's go to Minnesota, Jeff. I have 2 running backs in Minnesota. Really goes down with my thoughts this season. And I also have 2 safeties. I just love this running back room and this safety room for Minnesota. PJ Flex really got it put together well. I have A.J. Turner, running back. He's a transfer from Marshall, and boy, was he good at Marshall. Anthony Smith, defensive lineman. He could be the one that keeps this first round, second round draft pick from Minnesota going this season. Defensive lineman there. Darius Taylor, another running back, probably going to be the starting running back there, I would assume, if he doesn't flex out some other place or something. And then the 2 safeties, Kerry Brown and Coy Parrish. And you know what? Just for the heck of it, I went ahead and put safety/wide receiver there for Coy Parrish, because why not? He's deserved it. He's going to be fantastic this season. Jeff, your thoughts on those 5?
Yeah, so I have Parrish number 1. I mean, I talk about unicorns. Ohio State's got a couple of them. He's a unicorn. So those difference makers can cause you just to win big games just from a big play that they can make. So he's a do-everything guy, and just really impressive. Taylor's number 2 as a running back. And let me just throw a stat at you. I was shocked last year with Minnesota. I mean, Brosmer really was driving the boat for them. They were 107th in total offense in the nation. And from a rushing perspective, they're only 14th best from a yards per rush perspective in the Big Ten. 14th best for Minnesota, 3.72 yards per rush. Now, that does factor in all the sacks and everything, but I don't think Brosmer was getting sacked left and right or anything. So, they need – so I have Darius Taylor number 2, and they need him to be really good. He is good, and they need that line to be good. The edge, Anthony Smith, and all 3 of those are listed by Lindy's as good NFL prospects. And then I had 4th safety, Kerry Brown, and then the running back, A.J. Turner, who's a transfer, right? A.J. Turner, yeah. So
Marshall.
Important for depth. I mean, Minnesota loves to pound the rock, so having that second running back that can spot the starter is huge for them.
Yeah, for sure, and it's going to be important this year with Drake Lindsey and everything, especially at the beginning of the season, just to help him get comfortable and get acclimated to what he's going to do. Which I like Drake Lindsey, so I think he has a lot of promise. I just we'll see what it is this season. So, Doug Shepard says I like this site because I learn who to watch out for by fans. Hey, appreciate you, Doug. Glad you're here, and that's what we try to do. We talk every single Big Ten team, not just 4, 5, 6 of them. Talk about every single one of them. That's what we try to do. So, Dave says, "Is AJ and Darius the new Lawrence Maroney and Marion Barber the third?"
I remember those guys so well. I'm old. I'm 57. I so remember them. My in-laws are from Minnesota. Yeah, that was a great team. And under who's the coach? Glenn Mason.
Yeah,
Old
Glenn
Mace.
Mason.
Yeah. That was a nasty combo. Maroney reminded me of the guy who just for Minnesota just a couple seasons ago. Who was the guy?
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Mo
mean, just
Ibrahim.
tough as nails.
I loved Ibrahim, man. The way he ran was awesome, and just the way he blew up dudes, yeah, he's awesome. All right, we can sit here and talk about Minnesota running backs forever, but we do need to get to Minnesota fans' second favorite subject, which is Nebraska. Okay. So let's talk some Nebraska. I have here. I have Emmett Johnson, running back. I know that's kind of a stretch for some people. Some people aren't super sold on Emmett Johnson. I think he's going to be really important for this team this year, and I think that they have a really good running back in him. I'm not sold on the depth behind him, but we'll see what goes on there. Dane Key, wide receiver, fantastic addition from Kentucky. Dylan Raiola, I have him up there. I think he's going to really take a year two leap. Watson Trent, the linebacker, I believe from Georgia Southern. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was a fantastic linebacker there. I have him to be one of the better linebackers in the Big Ten. I think he's going to make a splash. And then Rocco Spindler. I wanted to put an offensive lineman here. I was debating either Spindler or Pritchett. Pritchett, to me, he seems to have that NFL potential upside. So if we were doing more of an NFL draft thing, I think I would have put him in the top 5. But Spindler just screams like the hard-nosed dude on the offensive line that's going to lead the offensive line, that's going to really get his nose in there, beat dudes up. And I just love that from Spindler. Really liked what I saw from him last year at Notre Dame, and I think he's going to come in and be a fantastic addition for Nebraska this season. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, number one, I had Dane Key. So, Lindy's listed him number one as an NFL prospect. Very intriguing prospect. 4.48 speed at 6'3", 210 pounds. He meets the, walking off the bus looking like an NFL wide receiver criteria for sure. Number two, I have Raiola, 5-star quarterback. He's going to make a leap this year, as all second-year starters do. The key for him is in college, and even for the NFL prospect, is processing speed. How quickly can he process things and make quick decisions well? That's what it's going to come down to. If you can't do that, you can't really be a great quarterback. So that's still TBD on that. Number three, the Rocco Spindler. Very important to protect Raiola, give him the time he needs to get the ball to Key. And then number four, the Emmett Johnson running back. And then finally, the linebacker, Marcus Watson Trent, for me, is number 5.
Love it. Love it. Good stuff there. All right, let's get on to Northwestern. Got my edge duo in there that I've been talking about at Northwestern. One of the best edge duos, I think, in all of college football when you really get down to it entering into the season. We'll see what it's like at the end of the season. But Aiden Hubbard and Anto Saka, 2 fantastic edge rushers. Caleb Tiernan, the offensive tackle, fantastic NFL prospect. He's going to really hold down the left side of the offensive line for Northwestern this season. That's a great advantage for him, for Northwestern. Cam Porter is back, running back for Northwestern. This is huge. And then I went ahead and threw Preston Stone, the quarterback, in there as well. I know he lost his job to Kevin Jennings, the SMU quarterback there, but he throws a really nice deep ball. I think he's not a bad quarterback. He lost his spot after getting injured, and I think, Preston Stone, there were definitely things he needed to work on with his game, but it wasn't like he lost the job because he was terrible or anything like that. He got injured. Kevin Jennings came in, took the job from him. So I'm going to keep giving Preston Stone credit here. I like the addition. I'm going to put him in the top 5. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I kind of followed these first 4, all listed by Lindy's, as good NFL prospects. So first is defensive end Anto Saka. Limited time last year, but 15 tackles, 3.5 sacks. But really, everyone's talking about him as a breakout candidate for sure. So people, even outside of Northwestern, are very excited about him. Second would be the tackle Caleb Tiernan, and then definitely an NFL prospect, like you said, JR. Third would be Preston Stone. Lindy's is impressed with him. And then fourth would be Cam Porter. And then finally, defensive end Aiden Hubbard would be fifth for me. Northwestern has had more offensive linemen that have done well in the NFL. So just they've been solid on defense, but having that different maker at defensive end. So if Saka is what people say he can be in a breakout candidate, it's going to be important for Northwestern and hoping to rebound under David Braun there.
Yeah, and you're right. Big thing is for him to stay healthy this season. That's a big thing for him. So, all right, let's get to the Buckeyes. Ohio State, 2 wide receivers, safety, tight end. Just like how Michigan State better have a good passing game this year, Ohio State better have one too, because they have 2 really good wide receivers and a really good tight end, and then a safety, a linebacker that's in here as well. So I have Caleb Downs at safety, then Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, no surprise there. Jeremiah Smith, his Heisman odds have gone down a little bit. Last time I checked, he is currently at plus 1,100 on FanDuel for his Heisman odds there, but still very high. He's in the top 4 of Heisman odds overall, so don't think there's anybody arguing Jeremiah Smith in the top 5 here. And then Max Clare, best tight end in the nation, in my opinion, coming over from Purdue to Ohio State. That was a fantastic addition. And then I know some people might scoff at this, but I really think he has the athleticism to be a really, really good linebacker. I think we saw glimpses of it last year. We'll see if it can kind of keep expanding this year. But Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State, really like the kid. Think he's going to be a really good player for the Buckeyes this season.
Yeah, so number 1 is Jeremiah Smith. I mean, when you get comparisons to Julio Jones and all this crazy stuff, that kind of speaks for itself. But then Lindy's number 1 for Ohio State actually was Caleb Downs. They didn't list Jeremiah because he's not draft eligible. But Downs, just the instincts, football IQ, athleticism, and even wondering, could he be a number 1 pick? I mean, some people are talking about that as a potential for sure number 5, especially because also he has the leadership skills. And then all these are listed by Lindy's, with the NFL rankings. Carnell Tate as a wide receiver is number 3, is number 2 listed by Lindy's, but 3 on my list here. Sonny Styles number 4, but listed number 3 for Lindy's. So Jared, just so you know, and remind, this is not Lindy's, it's through that scouting service that they're leveraging, ranked above Max Clare, which came in last on my list just because Sonny Styles was listed higher under Lindy's. So Sonny Styles 4, Max Clare 5. But really, all these players are definitely really good NFL candidates for sure.
What was that top 5 for Lindy's? Can you go through that one more time?
Yeah, actually, it was Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate, Sonny Styles, Max Clare, and then Bo Atkinson was listed as 5th.
Okay. Cool.
And Smith's not on there because he's not draft eligible. So I think they only list draft eligible people on this.
Yeah, for this next one. That makes sense. That makes sense. All right, let's move on to the Oregon Ducks. Got a couple transfers. I got 3 transfers in this one, as Oregon does a really good job going to the transfer portal. But a couple guys that they developed and did a good job with as well. I got Dylan Thieneman, safety from Purdue. Purdue had gold on their team last year and just was never able to really completely come together, unfortunately for them. But Dylan Thieneman, safety. Mekhi Hughes, running back. Mateo Uiagalelei, he's more of an edge, but they have him listed as an outside linebacker, so I put that there. Isaiah World, I'm going out on a limb a little bit, but I really like his size. I really like what he can do on the outside there, the way he moves his feet. I like the prospect that he is. And Ipani Lulalu, I apologize, but we're going to call him Poncho because that's that's what everybody else calls him, and it's much easier to say for Oregon. If you do look at the Heisman odds, I didn't have Dante Moore in there, but Dante Moore does have plus 2,500 Heisman odds. So Heisman odds obviously are not a great predictor of who the best players on the team is, but Dante Moore getting some love there from the Heisman odds on FanDuel. Like I said, plus 2,500 for Dante Moore there. And we have James is saying Kenyon Sadiq, tight end, and Bryce Bocher, linebacker, are two you missed, JR. Sadiq is an early first round rumblings. Yeah, I thought about Sadiq. I almost put Sadiq in over Poncho. I just haven't seen Sadiq as the guy yet, right? You know, Terrence Ferguson was the guy last year. I think Kenyon Sadiq is going to be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But he's one of those guys that it's just like, do I put him in there? So he was definitely one I battled with, and I can definitely see why you'd put him in there, James. And then Bryce Bocher, yeah, he's one that I battled with as well. It was either Bocher or Thieneman, Mekhi Hughes. I mean, a lot of really good guys you could put there for Oregon. A lot of tough picking there. So thanks for pointing those guys out, James. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge. Oregon's so loaded like Ohio State, it's hard to choose five. Lindy's did have, say Lindy's, it's allaccessfootball.com that they're using a scouting service, but Isaiah World is number one. I mean, he's 6'8". I mean, he's just monstrous. And by 6'8", you know what that means? That long wingspan that they all want, and yet very athletic.
Too, Jeff, have you watched him? His feet, how they're able to move when he's 6'8". It's fantastic.
Yeah, 3-year Nevada starter. So what's interesting though, he had 32 penalties the last 3 seasons. 32 penalties. So they got some cleanup to do. Just to remind, Josh Simmons, when he first came to Ohio State as well, he had all kinds of penalty issues, and all kinds of Ohio State fans complained about him. And here he is, first-round draft choice, and going to start at left tackle for the Chiefs. So you can clean this stuff up. I'm not panicking over that. So number 2, Yuga Angele, I say it terrible too. Dylan Thieneman, safety, number 3. Running back Mekhi Hughes, number 4. And then the center, the 5th. But yeah, Oregon's just loaded with the NFL talent. So really hard to, we're always going to be, what about this guy, as our listener pointed out.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree with James? Would you have swapped in either Sadiq or Bocher there for one of the two that I?
I wouldn't feel comfortable enough to say, yeah. So I'm gonna leave it at my rankings, but
gotcha.
Yeah, the problems with, I mean, just like Ohio State and Penn State coming next, hard to list only 5. That's the problem, and then some of them are just so close, right?
Yeah. Trojan Fight asks, what are we missing with Thieneman? He was starting safety on one of the worst defenses in the country last year. Yeah, last year was super weird. They tried to use him. So his freshman year, he was used as a very deep safety, kind of last man of defense type of guy, and he was the guy that was making the play pretty much every single time 2 years ago on that defense as a freshman. He was a freshman All-American, just fantastic job 2 years ago. They tried to use him closer to the line of scrimmage a little bit last year, and it just never really fit him. It was one of the reasons why the team was just never really able to become, what they should have been with certain players, because they weren't using players correctly. 2, like Max Clare, they weren't able to get the ball to some of their playmakers because of bad quarterback decision making or bad offensive line play. So really anything that you do to set up your team well, Purdue just didn't do that, which is a trait of a very poorly coached team, which Ryan Walters, unfortunately, that was him.
The other thing I'd say is when, sports is so mental, once a season goes off the rail, just to keep your motivation, to stay fired up, to stay focused, it's difficult. And I think that definitely impacted his play, and I'm sure others on the team. It's just human nature. So yeah, I would think why you would see a big drop off in his play. That's partially the way to explain it too.
Yeah. And I'm being consistent here. I did the same thing with Rod Moore, did the same thing with a couple other guys too. 2 years ago, that kind of stuff. It's David Nwankpa. And so try not to cut it out just if they had one bad season, because there are past seasons. So, but good question. Appreciate it, Trojan Fight. All right. Penn State here, Jeff. I have Deny, Dennis Sutton, edge, really good edge rusher there. He's no Abdul Carter, but he's very, very good. Drew Aller, the quarterback, I do have in the top here, and Drew Aller, a little bit better Heisman odds than Dante Moore. He is plus 1,800 on FanDuel, so I believe he's dropped a little bit as well. And then of course the running back duo of Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, and then the inside offensive lineman, the guard for Penn State. He has a nickname and I forget what it is, but a lot of it, or it's Vega. That's right, Vega. Ione, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He's a fantastic interior offensive lineman. I believe he's going to be playing left guard for Penn State this year. Fantastic player, physical, big, just really, really good player. Can't wait to see more of him this season. Your thoughts on these five, Jeff?
Yeah, so my first four, I went with exactly what Lindy's had because I agree with it. Number one, quarterback Drew Aller. Key there, they pointed out, and this is so true, just the consistency of throwing the ball long downfield well, making the right decisions, and obviously needing to play in big games. They didn't say that in the scouting report, but that goes without saying. And then number two, Dennis Sutton. So the running backs come next, and number three is running back Katron Allen, and number four is running back Nicholas Singleton. It's interesting. Up until late last year, I always was like, Singleton looks way better than Katron Allen. I don't understand why this is even a conversation. Then I saw Allen play in the last half of the season last year. I'm like, okay, I get it. He's a little bit better than Singleton. So I do think he's a little better. And then fifth is the guard I left out. So, but yeah, a lot of good prospects. We're not even talking about, Wheatley and everything and the safety. And there's other, if we have Penn State fans on, don't yell at us. There's plenty of others we could have listed in the top five. I think it's safe to say.
Oh, we do have a Penn State fan on. He says, we are. Appreciate you being here, Penn State Sports Talk. And he's not yelling at us. He's just saying Drew Aller Heisman season coming. Love that confidence there for
him.
Pit Snipe says, JR talking up Aller somewhere. Adam Lampard is heaving violently. I got to say, I have one of the most interesting relationships and analysis, of Drew Aller of any player that I've had, because Drew Aller has everything. Like, he has the size, he has the mobility. He's not the most mobile guy in the world, but he has enough mobility to be able to be dangerous. I mean, he has the arm strength, the accuracy. He has all of this stuff. It's just those late decision making, those late clutch times that he just has to get that through. I really do like Drew Aller a lot. I think Drew Aller is a fantastic talent, fantastic player. It's just in those clutch moments, those clutch times, and some of the awareness to be able to throw the ball deep down the field instead of a check down. I think he just needs to improve in those areas, but I got to tell you, I mean, I'm there with you, Pit Snipe Husker. I do have one of the more, interesting ones, but Drew Aller, he is just a fantastic talent and really, really good. He's just got to clean up on a couple things there. So, all right, let's move on to Purdue here, Jeff. I got to be honest, this one was a little bit tougher to do, but I think I did a bang-up job. So, C.J. Nunley Jr., the edge, coming from Akron, had a fantastic year last year at Akron. We'll see if he can translate much of that for Purdue this season. I'm hoping he does because he was my draft pick on the Big Ten draft. Devin Mockabee, only returning starter from last year's team at running back. Jalen St. John, inside offensive lineman, a guard from UNLV, coming on over with him. Manny Powell, linebacker. He's getting some linebacker consideration. The linebacker award, he was on the watch list for that. Love to see that. And then the former five-star recruit, Tony Grimes, we'll see. He transferred from Georgia to UNLV, had a good year at UNLV. Now he's at Purdue. We'll see if he can translate that good year from UNLV to Purdue. Jeff, where would you have these five for Purdue ranked?
Yeah, definitely Tony Grimes first, a potential mid-round draft pick. And like you said, former five-star recruit and has played well. Second, offensive tackle, Jalen St. John. Third, Devin Mockabee. I always liked Devin Mockabee. I just thought he looked like he could have gotten the weight room a little bit more. But he's going to be important for leadership. For the edge, CJ Nunley Jr. And then number 5 was Manny Powell for me.
Love it. Appreciate that. Also, appreciate Doreen reposting the stream. Thank you for doing that, Doreen. I always want to acknowledge when that comes up. Doesn't come up when everybody does it, unfortunately, but it does come up when Doreen does it, and we want to make sure we say thank you for doing that, Doreen. All right, Rutgers here, Jeff. I had Bradley Weaver, the edge. I have Darrell Dejabome, the linebacker. DT Sheffield, fantastic player coming from North Texas a couple years ago. Really like him. Really like the other wide receiver, Ian Strong, as well, and then the other edge rusher, Eric O'Neill. So got 2 edge rushers, 2 wide receivers from Rutgers. This is going to be a better wide receiver room than I think some people are prepared for Rutgers and DT Sheffield and Ian Strong. And then the edge rushers there should help out the secondary a lot if they can get some pressure on them, with Eric O'Neill coming over from James Madison, Bradley Weaver coming over from Ohio University. Jeff, your thoughts on these 5?
So the first 3 per definitely the edge, Eric O'Neill first. So transfer dominated competition at the FCS and mid-major levels, and really, edge is such a primary position for putting pressure on the quarterback. So that's number 1. Second was the linebacker, Jabome. Is that how you say it? Jabome.
Yep.
And
Jabome.
he was listed as definitely an NFL prospect, as is third wide receiver Ian Strong. And then after that, number 4, I have Sheffield, the wide receiver, and then defensive end Bradley Weaver. Not as familiar with those last 2 for me. But hopefully Rutgers can stay healthy. I mean, that's what really held them back last year. Their offense did pretty darn good. They got in some shootouts kind of. And normally, Shiano wants to play tough, defense and control the clock and everything. So, yeah, those are my 5.
Yeah, just tough last year for Rutgers. All those injuries, and then, like I said, they weren't able to get the pass rush that they wanted as well. So teams were able to throw on them more than I think they were comfortable with. And yeah, just hard year for Rutgers, but they went to a bowl game, so looking up there. All right. Next, UCLA got the Bruins. I do have Andre Jordan Jr., the transfer cornerback. Like him a lot. Javian Thomas, the running back. Was not as familiar with him until recently, and I do like him more the more I've watched him. Caden Robinson. Now I do have an asterisk next to him because he does have the questionable eligibility. I was reading a UCLA site the other day. They felt like they were pretty confident that he was going to get the eligibility to be able to come back. App State transfer wide receiver, had nearly 2 seasons with nearly 1,000 yards receiving there. So if he can come in, that's huge for UCLA. It's not a bad wide receiver room, but it does have some unproven players. So a more proven player like Caden Robinson would be huge for them coming over from App State. And then Keanu Williams, the defensive lineman, and Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback coming over from Tennessee, had to put him in there as well. Jeff, your thoughts on these 5?
Yeah, first, Nico for sure. The NFL wants to see how he does versus top competition, actually, is one of the things they say, but he's got all the, and things that you need from a physical perspective for sure. Running back, number 2, Javian Thomas, Cal transfer. He averaged 6.3 yards a carry last year. I mean, that's really impressive. And UCLA needs that. They were terrible at running after losing Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator. Number 3, Andre Jordan Jr., the cornerback. Number 4, I had the defensive tackle, Keanu Williams, and then the Caden Robinson, and you're pointing out if he's eligible or not. I do think things looking up for UCLA, tough schedule again like last year, but I just love the way they play under Deshaun Foster.
Very good, very good. Fisherman asks, Caden Robinson isn't eligible, right? I think he lost his lawsuit. He did lose the one. He has an appeal coming up on, I think the decision is on the 18th of August. And like I said, I was reading a UCLA guy. They seemed pretty confident that he was going to be able to get that appeal. So we'll see. I normally wouldn't put a player like that up there, but considering I do think he's one of the top 5 guys, and it would be huge for them if he comes back, I went ahead and put him up there. So, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I forgot to say that it was an appeal. Thanks for pointing that out, Fisherman. All right, USC. We have DJ Harvey, the San Jose State transfer, coming on over. Eric Gentry, or the cornerback, Eric Gentry, the linebacker, 2 wide receivers for UCLA as well. One of the best wide receiver duos in the nation, Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon. And then Kamari Ramsey, the safety. Good player out there at the safety position for USC. Excited about him. I know I'm going to get some pushback from Eric Gentry. There's not a ton of USC fans that are in love with Eric Gentry. I get it. I love his athleticism. Similar to Sonny Styles, I think he has the athleticism to be a really good player. It was unfortunate that he got injured last season. I think with some more coaching under D'Anton Lynn, showcased his athleticism. I think he's going to be a really strong player for USC this year, but I would not argue a USC fan if they were to tell me they don't think he should be in the top 5. I get it. I'm ranking a little bit on faith here. Jeff, your thoughts on those 5?
So, yeah, it's interesting. USC, I mean, they had so many good receivers last year. It's almost like they had too many. And so number one, all that's a lead in to say, number one, Jacoby Lane, just 6'4", super athletic. Probably would have got the ball even more if, they weren't trying to feed all the receivers so they wouldn't transfer. So just a huge talent. Then number 2, Mekhi Lemon. And they both are listed as the top 2 NFL prospects by Lindy's as well. And also listed safety Kamari Ramsey. I have them as number 3. They did not list Eric Gentry in the top 5, but, USC has a very talented roster, better than the record last year for sure. So I have him 4th, and then cornerback DJ Harvey as the 5th guy for me.
Makes sense. As predicted, got some of the USC fans saying Elijah Page should be on the list, saying he should be top 5. I get that. Yeah, I wouldn't. Like I said, I'm not going to argue too much if you put somebody else in there instead of an Eric Gentry. That's who I'm assuming you guys would probably take out of there. I get that. And Elijah Page is most likely in for a good season there at left tackle for USC. So liking that. And the Trojan Fight saying Ramsey, best safety not named Downs. Like I said, man, really good safeties this season in the Big Ten. Just absolutely stacked. And yeah, Kamari Ramsey is definitely among the best in the nation for sure. So
just for you Trojan fans, just because, so Lindy's 5th guy, Braylon Shelby, their 5th guy as the edge, junior, 6'5", 260. So pretty talented there. So another guy for USC.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this USC team this season. I think we'll have a really good picture of this team a few weeks in, and I'm excited to see it. I think they can do some damage this season if things roll right for them. So, very good. All right, next up, Washington. Two teams left. I got Damon Williams Jr., another little bit of projection there, but I got Damon Williams Jr., Denzel Boston wide receiver, Ephesians Prysock, love that name by the way. Ephesians Prysock cornerback I have up there. So dual cornerbacks here for Washington with Dekario Davis as well. And then I couldn't leave my man Jonah Coleman out of the top 5. Love me some Jonah Coleman. He's going to be fantastic this season, and looking forward to I believe one last season. I think this is his last year of eligibility. One last season of Jonah Coleman. Love that. Jeff, your thoughts on these top 5?
Yeah, so number 1, and he wasn't listed by Lindy's because he's a first year, second year playing, but first year starter. So Damon Williams, right, could be another mini version of a Lamar Jackson type player where he can throw it well and run. Super excited to see him this year. So he's number 1. And all these 4 others are listed by Lindy's. And first up for them is wide receiver Denzel Boston. Shame on me for not knowing he's the son of David Boston. I did not even know that. I watched several Washington games and no one said that. I didn't recall hearing an announcer say that. It just shocks me. I feel kind of stupid for not knowing that. Number 3, Dekario Davis. Number 4 was Jonah Coleman. And again, the list Jonah Coleman number 4 shows you that Washington's got some talent too. And then, man, the all-American name team, Ephesians Prysock. I mean, he better be good with that name, but I have him 5th.
I think he was on FanDuel's all name team or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Damn
I saw
straight.
that on there and I was like, hey, there we go, Big Ten representation. I wanted to do like an all Big Ten name team, but there were some positions that didn't have enough guys. So yeah, but all right, last team here, Wisconsin. And we got some feedback, some from Wisconsin fans earlier on. So Wisconsin fans, I'll bring that up. But I do have Jake Renfro, the inside offensive, the interior offensive lineman here for Wisconsin. Preston Zachman, the safety. Again, more great safeties. Get used to it in the Big Ten. Going to be hard to throw deep balls this season. A lot of good safeties to get involved in the run game as well. Ricardo Hallman, a little bit of a tough year last year, but 2 years ago led the Big Ten in interceptions. I think he's really, really good player for them. Riley Malman, and then Vinny Anthony. I'm not sure everybody's going to agree with me on Vinny Anthony, but man, he wasn't exactly the possession receiver a couple years ago, but the way he was able to stretch the defense and give them an option down the field was huge when they utilized that. So Matthew is saying Mason Rieger and Lance Mason absolutely dominating camp. Remember those two names? Yes, Rieger going to be a really good linebacker for them. Allegro as well. This is something that Luke Fickell needs in his defense. A really, really strong, reliable linebackers, and I think he's found a couple of them, at least for sure, in Allegro and Rieger. Just want to see it from Rieger, and I did think about putting Allegro in here in the top 5 as well, and then Lance Mason, the tight end, I believe from Missouri State. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Matthew, but Missouri State tight end coming over there. He could also be very, very strong for Wisconsin this season. Love those two names, and thanks for adding those two additions to the conversation here, Matthew. All right, Jeff, your thoughts on the Wisconsin guys?
All right, number one, it listed second by Lindy's, the offensive tackle Riley Malman, and they mentioned that flexibility to play tackle as well as guard. The NFL likes that flexibility in addition to just being talented in general. Number two, Vinny Anthony, the second, and they're listed third by Lindy, so they kind of support what you're saying there. Ricardo Hallman is my third. Jake Renfro is number 4, and then Preston Zachman is the free safety as number 5. On Lindy's they list the other tackle, Joe Bruner, as the top NFL guy. So I think with Wisconsin, they're unlike previous years where it's like, oh, they're clearly this guy is like the top NFL guy. I think they have a bunch of good players, but because their play last year was so spotty, I think it probably is making them a little bit harder to rank this year, at least in my book. Because some games I watched last year, I'm like, this is not Wisconsin. I mean, they look, I don't want to bring up a bad subject, but against Nebraska, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is not Wisconsin. And for the audience to know too, my brother went to Wisconsin and all 3 of his boys. So I have 3 nephews who are all graduated from Wisconsin. I probably been to about 15 games at Camp Randall. So I know them well, and I know they're going to get back to the old, pound the rock and then play good defense.
Listen, I'm hearing some people say that Florida should be considered a college football playoff team if they're 8-4 this season. Just know you're going to be hearing the same thing from me about Wisconsin if they get themselves to 8-4 this season. Because my goodness, that schedule is a big one. But man, I believe in Luke Fickell. I think he's going to get at least 6 wins this season. I don't know exactly how they do it because that schedule's rough, but I got a feeling about Luke Fickell on this team. I don't think he's done at Wisconsin just yet, and I think that they're going to show some people that you got to start believing in Wisconsin here soon this season. All right, let's end it there, Jeff. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody who's listening in. Got some Wisconsin fans, some USC fans. Matthew says we get to 8-4. I would be a happy man. Oh, for sure. We should do an episode at some point where we talk about what's the win total every Big Ten team needs to get at for their fans to be happy. We'll have to do that. That would be a really interesting conversation. I just had that thought. So that'll be an interesting one to do. Jeff, thanks for being here, man. Tell people about your website, where they can find your written work at, in addition to your social media, everything else.
Yeah, website's bigjeffsfootball.com. Just, I go pretty deep. Everything I do is backed by data. I don't want to say everything. Most of what I do is backed by data. I don't like just to throw stuff out there. And that's kind of like been a pet peeve of mine, which why I want to make sure things are data-based as much as possible. And then on next, Big Jeff's FT ball. And just appreciate y'all joining. And again, we're trying to cover all the teams in an objective way as possible. And really exciting. The season's getting close.
For sure, for sure. And, we're not perfect. We do have some of our favorites. I got a little bit of a soft spot for Minnesota and Wisconsin. I know that's a little bit of a weird thing, but I got a little bit of soft spot for both of them. Of course, I'm an Ohio State fan, but I like Oregon. I also like Penn State. So I don't know. It's really not really a Big Ten team that I don't like. Well, Michigan, but, that's the rivalry. And I remain pretty unbiased. So I'll stop talking before all the Michigan haters come in here and tell me I'm a Michigan, or the people come in here and call me a Michigan hater. So thanks for being here, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll see you on Tuesday night. We'll see if Zach is better by then. If not, you might get a triple dose of Jeff this week. How awesome would that be? Appreciate it all. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.